Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Yes, we do. 10 after 5 in the morning. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? For some of you, it's probably going to be boring because you already know this if you're a dealer, but maybe not. Is how to find the right parts that you're looking for. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the issue with back orders and a possible fix. And then lastly, what I'm finding out with a lot of the Chinese items that are coming in, especially the carburetors for your two-strokes, and we'll cover that. So let's start off with how do I find the right parts for the machine I'm working on? Well, if you're a dealer for that manufacturer, distributor, then you have access to the parts diagrams that are supplied by the manufacturer. You can just take the model number, go look it up, bring up the diagrams, whatever. But if you're not a dealer for that manufacturer, how do you find out how to locate the part and what the part number is? This is where you have to thank Google. And a lot of the bigger parts guys are now posting their diagrams online. And one is like Jack's small engine. I remember Jack when he was first starting out before he sold out. But you can simply, if you're working on your MTD series, Cub Cadets, and your Troy Builts and all that, all you need to do is find the model number. And most often, if you're looking for the model number of your machine, like your push mowers, lawnmower, or riding lawnmowers, snow blowers, and all that, on the riders, it's usually located underneath the seat. You will find a sticker tag there. If you're trying to find a part for the actual engine, you're going to have to find the model and type if it's a Briggs, and on those engines it's going to be on one of the valve covers, and that's just a shiny piece that encloses the valves for the one side. If it's a one cylinder twin, you'll have two valve covers, but they stamp it right into one of the valve covers, so that you could just take that and go to Google. John Deere. Now, John Deere is proprietary, and they've probably been one of the best ones as far as not running into issues with the Chinese. If you want the correct part for your John Deere riding lawnmower, zero turn, I've hit this headlong quite a few times, is that you're not going to find an aftermarket unless it's like an older deck wheel. It's got to be way back before you're going to find anything. But now if you go to, just type in John Deere parts diagrams, and in my area I deal hand in hand with our local dealer right here, probably 10, 12 miles away. I've been friends with the parents that owned it, and then with all the boys, we grew up together, and now they just sold it to a bigger company, but they kept most of the people on staff. So, I mean, everybody knows everybody, but I have an account with them, and what I do is I set up an online account through John Deere. They don't ask if you're a repair shop. You sign up as an individual if you want. And what it does is it assigns the closest John Deere dealer to you, to your parts lookup stuff in your cart. So if it's a GT 235 lawnmower, once you have logged in, online parts lookup, it's usually in the top, click on that, it'll ask for the model GT 235, put that in, and then hit search, and it will bring up that GT 235, and it might say US, Canada, France, different versions. If you're in the US, it's a US, all right? So click on the US one, and then that'll bring you out to what looks like it is a drawing of the lawnmower, but then it breaks it down to deck, linkages, body parts, dash, and then just go from there. Just click on it and go look. Now, when you add it to cart on their site and then go to the cart, it will show you if your dealer has that in stock. And you can do one or two things at that point, as a homeowner or as a non-John Deere dealer, and that is you can buy it online and they'll set it aside for you at the counter, all paid for. You can go down and get it. Or in my case, I just hop on the phone and give the parts guys a call and say, look, I don't even have to tell them who I am. They know my voice. Got to have this, and they'll have it all set aside. They'll have the bill all done up, and it's easy peasy. But for your other manufacturers, every schematic is online for you, the homeowner, you, the new guy trying to do repairs on small engines, to access. There's no charge. See, we used to hide that years ago as proprietary because, let me tell you, these guys that are still up there doing it, they're paying a good chunk of money to have those parts schematics available for what they hope to be as their customer, doing a parts lookup and then ordering the parts from them. But I can tell you right now, this day and age, I would say close to 70 to 80% of the people that go to those sites, Jack Small Engine, E-Replacement, Parts Warehouse, that you're getting the part number there, but then you're jumping over to eBay or Amazon and actually buying the part because it's cheaper. These guys on these sites are not selling stuff that they're buying directly from the Chinese. They're buying it from other distributors and then warehousing it and then shipping and selling it. People aren't willing to pay 2-3 times as much when they can get it on eBay for a third of the cost. And that's been going on for some time. But it's there for anybody to access. As long as you have a model number off the machine that you're working on. Like I say, the exception is John Deere and I think Simplicity. See, Simplicity does, like John Deere does not make a snowblower. As far as I know, they never have. They have Simplicity make it. Top of the line. You couldn't ask for a better snowblower. You're not buying Chinese junk. This is good. These are good snowblowers. So John Deere signed on with them. But as long as you have the make, model, sometimes the serial number, you can look up just about anything you want. Simply punch it into Google, the complete model number, and a lot of times Google will finish it for you because it's so many people that have searched for it. And then what I would suggest is when you use Google, Google has what they call sponsored. And sponsored is shops, online parts outlets that are paying Google to be number one. Slide down through the sponsored until you get to below. And the first one is non-sponsored. Could be the first one that was sponsored. But I go down and hit that. Because if I click at the top one, Google is charging that company for my clicking on it. So I look at it as I'm saving a couple pennies. So that should get you the schematics that you need online to find the correct part you want. And once you have the part number, you can jump over to eBay. You can jump over to Amazon, or you can order directly from them on their website. One of the three. I would like to hope that you would support the U.S. guy that is trying to sell parts, but even I'm not willing to pay 3 times the amount that I can get it for over here. So that brings us to the back orders, you know. So I hear thinking the other day, you know, I've been talking about, because my distributor that handles Homelight, Generac, Hydrogear, I can go on. When I started doing a common parts search to try to fill an order, and when I say fill an order, is for that distributor it's $250 to get free shipping. So I always try to get at least $251 just to get the free shipping. But the only thing I'll order is fast moving stuff that I've had good luck with in the past. And when I found that over half of the stuff showed 0 in inventory with no ETA, and I'm thinking, is the manufacturer discontinuing them parts? Is the distributor having problems trying to source them parts? Is the distributor even looking at trying to source parts when they've got warehouses full of parts that they can't sell? Nobody seems to know the answer to that. But the idea that I come up with was, what if there was a way to create a dealer's network? And I'm like, dealer's network? Yeah, a dealer's network. See, I bet you that the parts that I'm lacking, that I wanted to bring in that are fast-moving parts, that somebody out there that's a dealer probably has too many of them on the shelf, and they're scratching their head trying to get rid of them because they aren't selling that great. See, I've got guys, and so do you if you're a repair shop, that will accept nothing less than OEM. Even though on the bag it says made in China, it's still coming from the OEM manufacturer. And they're willing to pay the cost to have the OEMs put on their units. They don't want cheap Chinese stuff. But if I can't get the part, then I've got a pissed off customer. I got a machine that's taking up space in my shop. Excuse me. And that's not making any money for anybody. So with a dealer's network, it would be like, you know, you'd have to have a lot of faith. You'd have to have an e-commerce type thing so that when If I was a dealer and I was overstocked with, let's say, 6 of the home light coils, and I haven't sold one in 6-7 months, but then I have another dealer or another shop or a homeowner, we could go out that far if we wanted to, and offer up 5 of those and keep one as inventory. And then you just solve 5 people's problems, 5 shops maybe, to get something out of their shop. And they may have something in their shop that you're lacking that would be beneficial to get your customers and your units out so you can get paid. I mean, there are options. You can try to sell them on eBay and Amazon. Facebook. I don't know how well it would work, but if we started a Facebook group for small engine repair parts or something like that, because Facebook has a way of sending and receiving money. I have a number of people that pay me monthly for buying property on land contracts, and that's how they pay me, is through Facebook. Gets deposited directly right into my checking account, and that makes it easy for them. So that tells me that Facebook has got an e-commerce platform, but you would have to do what we did in the early days of eBay, and that is you have to have trust. You have to build trust. And that is, if you pay for a part, then you shouldn't have to worry about receiving that part. And there's got to be a way in there to filter. See, back in the early days with eBay, when feedback was feedback, positive and negative, for the seller and the buyer, if somebody didn't come through on their end, you could read it in their feedback. And it didn't take long if somebody got a couple negative feedbacks on a certain practice that people would avoid them. Now, feedback is just crap on, as far as I'm concerned, on eBay and Amazon, because only the really pissed off or the really excited customer is going to leave you any feedback at all. So you're not going to get the regular guy giving you feedback. And as a seller on eBay, you cannot give a negative or a neutral feedback to a customer. Not anymore. It's got to all be positive, even though that customer may have, not paid you on time, waited a week. It might have been that when you shipped them the part, they shipped you back their used part because they wanted to return it. A lot of things happen. So Facebook might be an alternative. I'll do a little bit more research on it because I'm very familiar with e-commerce, but not in a sense of setting it up for like an eBay style platform. It would be more for one individual selling to the many. And give me your thoughts on that. I mean, is there a way that we can do that? Keep it like a smaller group maybe of people that you know, and only inviting people that you know and trust to be part of it. And then, you're going to have to cover shipping if I have that part and you need it. Most times, especially with even USPS, they call it retail ground now, or ground retail, or there's no more first class, but anything under 1 pound. But the least that I'm going to pay is around $4 plus packaging. So you have to take that into consideration too. You're not just buying the part. You're buying the postage as well, because it's not fair to me to have to cover the postage to send you a part at or just above cost. You see what I'm saying? But I like your ideas on it, because I think that something like that would work. That would help out a lot of shop owners get a lot of equipment that's sitting out back and they're not making any money on it because of back orders. So lastly, that brings me to the Chinese counterparts, especially the two-stroke stuff, your chainsaws, weed eaters, and that. I've had many people tell me that the chainsaw carburetor they got, the chainsaw never run right. And they either had to bore out one of the jets or this or that. So I started doing some digging. And what I found out is the Chinese are selling carburetor A for a two-stroke engine and telling you on eBay and Amazon it will fit all these steels. The same carburetor is saying it'll fit all these Ryobis. The same carburetor that they're selling says it'll fit all these home lights. When in fact, they don't know what it will fit. They're just pushing carburetors. They're just pushing orders so that money's coming in. And they know most often that you, the customer, the homeowner, the dealer that's ordering on there, throws it on there, and if that doesn't work, you just assume that the chainsaw is no good. When in fact, good chances are they sent you the wrong carburetor. It was not specifically for that model. Whereas if you go to a steel dealer, you're going to pay quite a bit more, but you will get the right carburetor the first time. But the Chinese sellers are banking on you just tossing the carburetor into a bin somewhere and chalking it up to, it not working and shaking your head. And we've run into this a number of times. And then when I started setting the carburetor side by side with each other, then I started seeing inconsistencies between the carburetors. The carburetor that the Chinese sent was close in design, but not the same. So when you're ordering carburetors online, just know that these guys, for the most part, don't care if it doesn't fit your machine. They're being told by the uppers to clear inventory because they're getting backlogged. So let's get it out, get more money coming in. The only way that you're going to be 100% positive is if you get it through a OEM distributor dealer. It may be made in China, but part of the difference is these companies here, like Homelight, have certain specs for each one of their carburetors. And if China were to send them a carburetor that was manufactured for them that didn't meet those specs, they would reject the whole load. So they have their quality control people checking this stuff, the manufacturer. Whereas with us dealing directly with China, there is no quality control check. It's shipped to you and me for under $20, free shipping. And the ones I look for are the ones that have sold a lot of them, because they seem to be and have good feedback. But the other thing I've noticed too on eBay, and I fault eBay for this, and Amazon, is they'll run a seller's ID until it gets a few negative feedbacks, and then they'll drop it and create a new one, and then another new one, so that the buyer isn't seeing a negative feedback. So give me your thoughts on the discussion today, of how are you doing parts lookups? Is this helpful at all for you guys that are trying to find the correct parts? And what do you think about having like it doesn't have to be a dealers network, but we could do dealers. That way us dealers are clearing stuff out of our back orders that we're sitting out there on because we can't get the part to fix it. And then I know a number of you've already run into this, especially you dealers, because I know that a couple guys have already commented on it here. And that is, how do you know if you're getting the right carburetor or the right part when you deal directly with China seller? On that note, you guys have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you in the morning. Thanks so much for watching.